She's here. Thank you.
Hi, Reshma. I think we are here, so you can begin with the session. We formally open this webinar now. You can begin, please.
Okay, thank you, Vicky. Good evening. I welcome you all to the fifth series of webinar, Crafting Good Proposals, on behalf of Shastri Institute. Shastri Mobility Program is very popular among faculty members because it gives them opportunity to deliver lectures, to work on short-term research projects, organization of curriculum. And the expected outcomes of the SMP programs are improved competencies, broader understanding of practices, policies, and system in education and training. Increased capacity to introduce internationalization of curriculum within their organization and better understanding of cultural diversity as well. This program has certain requirements from the host affiliate, reference letters, project details about the activities or the plans that one will be doing while in Canada or while in India, then dissemination strategies, etc. Today we have invited speakers with us, Professor DeRosa and Professor Mishra, in how to furnish the information in the application form that it can be a balanced project and it can be an award-winning project as well. So now I will request Dr. Paul to the speakers of the day. Over to you, Prachi.
Thank you so much, Reshma, for initiating the webinar. To begin with, I would like to welcome Professor Maria D'Souza from Carleton University, Canada, and Dr. Ramesh Mishra from University of Hyderabad, India, for this webinar, that is the webinar on how to craft a winning proposal. Thank you for agreeing to be the speakers, both of you, and I also welcome the attendees, those who are here with us today, to listen to our eminent scholars. They are the winners of the award, not just the winners of award, they present to you the best way to craft a proposal that can just not be good enough for Shastri, but for other funding agencies as well. So it's a skill base that you can acquire from their experience to be used for other platforms, whether it is crafting a proposal for Shastri or for SHRC or for ICSSR or for any other scientific platform wherein you would like to request for funding. A very warm welcome once again, all of you. I would like to begin by saying that this program for which they are here to share their experiences and focusing on how to formulate a proposal is called Shastri Faculty Mobility Program. And this program is very interesting in terms of its component. One part of this program deals with academicians and the other part deals with the administrators. So academicians can be visiting each other's country, visiting each other's respective institutions, and be there for 3 weeks time to learn and understand the best practices, or to offer a course, offer a series of seminar, offer a workshop, or be part of a conference, or co-teach a course or teach a module of a course that they have expertise on with their affiliate and co-host there in Canada or India. This is a program wherein we haven't kept any stringent guidelines in terms of what you have to do. So what we expect from the scholars, that they propose to us what is best that they can bring out of this opportunity that Shastri has created for scholars in India and Canada. So the beauty of the program is that it's quite open for innovation. So scholars, be more innovative in your approach and bring out something new. If you want to develop a program, if you want to develop a course on India and Canada, be with your affiliate in Canada or in India, vis-a-vis, and develop a course and offer at your respective institution. So there are various opportunities, various ways by which you can make a proposal to Shastri Institute. Amazing program for administrators as well, because this provides them an opportunity to be in the campus of other universities in the country, to the best practices being involved or adopted by that particular institution in terms of teaching, learning, the pedagogy, or dealing with the administrative issues, the campus management, course management, skill formation amongst the fraternity of faculty or students, whatever it is. So it allows you to nurture your own program and propose to Shastri Institute. So I'm sure the attendees who are here with us will be greatly benefited by these two great scholars who are with us for today's webinar. I would briefly, introduce the two scholars. Professor Maria DeRosa, she's from Carleton University, and she's a professor of chemistry at Carleton University, and her research primarily examines a family of synthetic nucleic acids known as aptamers. I'm sorry for my less know-how on these terms that can fall into 3D non-scale structure capable of the binding tightly to a specific molecular target. And when I say this, I have no clues what I am talking about. So pardon me if my pitch and volume is not appropriate to use those kind of So going on further, I can just say that her CV is available on the website. You can have a look to that. But more importantly, what I would say that she has received her BSc and PhD in chemistry from Carleton in 1999 and 2003 respectively, and was awarded at the Natural Science and Engineering Council of Canada, which is NSERC, one of the greatest research council that deals with sciences. Postdoctoral fellowship to do research at the California Institute of Technology from 2004 to 2005. In 2005, she returned to Carleton as a faculty member in the chemistry department and the Institute of Biochemistry. She was a recipient of the John Charles Polanyi Research Award for the New Researchers in 2006, an Ontario Early Researcher Award in 2010, and a Capital Educators Award in 2015. So this is not enough to describe who she is. You will get to hear more from her that goes beyond this resume that I just spoke on. The second speaker is Dr. Ramesh Mishra. He is from University of Hyderabad in India. Dr. Mishra is a professor at Center for Neural and Cognitive Sciences, University of Hyderabad. He teaches at the Center for Neural and Cognitive Sciences, University of Hyderabad, a major research university in India. It's a central university and one of the best in the lot of universities that we have. His professional expertise is in cognitive sciences and allied disciplines. He has published widely in the areas of attention, visual processing, bilingualism, and language processing, literacy, and its influences on cognition, among others. He has edited and authored several books in these areas, and his most recent books titled as Bilingualism and Cognitive Control was published by Springer. Very warm welcome both of you, and I will not take further and would like to request both of you to take over and conduct the webinar. Thank you. So who goes first? Is it Dr. Mishra who's going to speak first?
I don't mind.
Maria?
Yeah, listen. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good for me. That's great. Yeah. So I should go ahead. So can I then share my screen?
Please go ahead.
Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, great. Let me share my screen. I have a few slides for us to look at while I'm speaking, but I hope that you'll feel free to ask questions throughout, and I know they're going to be made available to me to answer any questions you might have about what I'm discussing. So I just want to make sure, can everyone see my slides right now? Is that, can you see something that says slide deck? Okay, great. Okay, so first of all, I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you so much for including me in this webinar. And really, thank you so much to the Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute for the support and the vote of confidence about the work that we want to do and the plan that we have for this really great exchange that we want to start between Carleton University and IIT Madras. So first, you heard a little bit about me and just a little bit more about my work. What we were hoping to do with this program was to basically start some knowledge transfer between our two institutes, IIT Madras and Carleton University, relating to developing new kind of technology for health healthcare, for detecting different diseases. And so when we looked at this program, we thought this could be a great way to launch this initiative. And especially because Dr. Call said so nicely about how it was flexible and how we could kind of take it almost any direction we had seen or thought about. This was something that was so nice to have that flexibility and have that opportunity. So thanks again. Okay, so I'm going to see now if I change my slide here. So hopefully that changed. So just some advice. I'm not going to talk about directly the proposal that I put together, but things that we were thinking about when we started to craft this proposal. The first thing that we were thinking about, this took some time, but it was kind of from the bottom up. So we first had the connection between our two institutions. So the Dr. Joseph at IIT Madras and his team had already connected with me and my team about research that we were doing that was complementary but not in common. I don't know if that made sense. So they were doing work that could help us, and we were doing work that could help them. And we had started thinking before we had started this proposal about how we might be able to work together. What could we do together? How could we both benefit? And then how could our institutions benefit? How could our students benefit? This kind of idea. And so since the goal of the program seems to be about, creating connections, learning from each other, sharing ideas, we thought that this could be a great opportunity to launch our initiative, the first step in a long-term relationship. So we started to think about how this could work. And we said, okay, well, things like giving lectures in each other's institutions, training each other's students. This might be some way that we could forge a long-term relationship. So my advice then, if this sounds familiar to you, or this sounds exciting to you, this looks like what you're trying to accomplish, it's the first thing before you start is you have to find the right partner who's going to have that right set of expertise but common goals. So I think the key for our success in this proposal is that we had a common goal of what we wanted to accomplish, but our expertise were balanced each other. So there was something on each side that they could learn. So I could learn something that I could share with my institution, and he could learn something he could share with his institution. Okay, so then, the proposal itself, right? And I think, as you heard at the beginning of the webinar, this might be useful for all sorts of proposals, not just this one, right? But, how can you present your problem and explain the solution in such a way that it's compelling to those who are reading the proposal? So, definitely my suggestion is really take a close look at what the priority areas are for whatever funding you're applying to. So this application, the mobility program, it was very open, right? And it was very flexible, which made it attractive to us. But certainly there were priority areas that were outlined. And so we saw ourselves in those priority areas. We saw a couple of places where what we were planning could fit in. And so that's why we thought it would be the right idea to go for this funding. So take a look closely at the call and see, do I see myself here? Are my goals aligned with this? Are our values set up in the same way? And that should help you make some decisions. The other thing that maybe I would suggest is that it's a team effort. So the plan is, for me, for example, to come and to learn and to give lectures, but it's a collaboration. So I had to collaborate with my partner from day one on developing the plan to make it compelling, right? And to make it real. If it's just me with my ideas and what I need and what I'm going to gain and why it's important to me, then it's not going to translate, right? You need to have that connection, and that connection has to come through on the paper. So if you're not working together to develop the plan, it's going to show, I think, in the plan. So I think it's good. So the questions, how can we work together? What can we learn from each other? I found those questions, and answering those questions helped us to present things in a way that was cohesive. You obviously have to be specific, and you have to have a work plan, and you have to have goals that are achievable. And so when we were putting this part of the proposal together, we were thinking about things like, how can we maximize the impact of this work? So we have maybe 3 weeks that we're actually going to be in the same space, right? So how do we prepare for that, and how do we springboard from that afterwards, right? So what's the best way we can use the time that we're together, and then put that on paper, right? So training opportunities. I'm here with my knowledge. I definitely want to share that with that very specific group, but then who else might be interested? How can we visit other institution and partners? How can we give other lectures to really maximize the reach, so that it's not just, okay, I gained something and this one other person gained something? Then you see that that's not going to be a good plan. So maybe incorporating those other opportunities into the 3-week plan could help you be successful. Again, this is not something that I could do just by myself in my office in Ottawa. Say, okay, here's the best way to make the plan work. I had to be communicating. We went back and forth with drafts, because the collaborator has to be involved. They're going to be on the ground working with you to make sure you can achieve your plan. So without that collaboration, that communication, it's very difficult to be effective. And then, I think in any grant, so in this specific mobility grant, there's a very nice section where they're asking you about, what's the impact of this work? What's going to come from this? And this is true for many different funding opportunities. So thinking about the impact of what you're planning for any grant is going to be helpful. Even if they don't ask it explicitly, you should be thinking about that. Why are we doing this, right? And again, you go back to what is the goal of this funding, and try to see that are your goals and the goals of this program, do they align? Because if they don't align, then maybe this isn't the right opportunity. Maybe you need to look for a different opportunity. So when we were looking at this funding opportunity, the ideas, the goals, the plans were aligning. So it seems like this mobility funding is about knowledge transfer, right, and translation. So I want to learn something, some best practice from you, and bring it back to my home institution and share it, and vice versa. I'm going to come with my ideas and how we do things, and what research we're doing or whatever, and really kind of it can become one, right, and we can both benefit. So in our case, it was advancing a certain technology, advancing a certain research line, but it could be almost anything. It doesn't have to be a specific, technology that you want to advance. It could be some ideas, a way of running a course, a way of teaching a certain concept that you're going to be sharing with each other. The other impact that we hoped would come from this, and that's the plan, and that's what we're so excited about, is that this is not just 3 weeks that's going to be in isolation. We're never going to hear from each other again. We want this to be the start of something really nice and special between our two groups. So a long-term collaboration, that this is just a seed, and we're going to continue to grow that collaboration with other opportunities and other types of initiatives. And so the impact would be much broader than just that 3 weeks of being together. And in our case, it was about training. So, we both had this very interesting technology. Can we train our students, and they can share that knowledge even further, right? So the lectures and the course, that type of stuff, that's very helpful. But then longer term, the people who we're training, can they go off then and continue that knowledge transfer? Can we advance this technology together? So the only other kinds of advice that I had, or things that we thought about and went back and forth about, and the letter of support that you ask for from the organization you're going to be visiting. Again, I think the key, or what we took away from our planning, was that it's really important that it's clear that you do have common goals for this mobility award. So it comes back to communicating. So if your application is full of a certain set of plans and goals, and then the letter of support is not really addressing that, or not really supporting that, then it seems like you're two separate entities. The hope is that you've worked together and you've come up with some great idea that you're going to share. So it should be reflected in that. Then for me personally, when I went to find the reference letters to support my application, this is kind of interesting too, because as trainee awards, maybe you're used to going out and getting reference letters, and then as you become a professor, you do this less and less. So something that I hadn't been thinking about for a long time, about whom do I want to ask for these letters, and what do I hope they can share about me for these letters, right? Because you get out of the habit of it, right? So this was an important thing. It took a while for me to think about it, and then I thought, again, I have to support what's in the application. So the application is about knowledge transfer. It's about giving lectures. It's about the research, of course, but it's also about more than that. So I looked for people who could speak to my communication skills and my interest in science communication and knowledge transfer, along with my research. And so not just about, Maria published a lot of nice papers. I've taught with Maria, and I know that she would do a great job teaching your students at IIT Madras this kind of a thing, to support a bit more of the goals of the grant. So those I think are just a few ideas that I had when I was putting this together with my colleague at IIT Madras. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them at the end of the session, however we want to run the webinar. But again, I just want to say a big thank you to the organizers of the webinar, but also to the whole institute for their support of this program. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting started in India very soon, as soon as we can get traveling again. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. DeRosa. And this was wonderful to hear, and very sharp, and I must say very sharp, but very effective presentation.
Thank you.
And covered all salient features that should be there in focus while we are drafting a proposal. Very well said that complementarity of the interest and research area is very important when you are finalizing your affiliate in the other country, because that is going to be the source of your research or any activity that you want to come up with or to deliver with as an outcome to your proposal. Also important is that making connections, as I always say that when you are visiting India, I always say this to our scholars that of course your affiliation is going to be at IIT Madras, but you are going to be visiting maybe many other institutions as well, which are part of the network. And your own affiliate would be making these connections for you. And if you wish, you can connect with Shastri. So this is the beauty of Shastri programming, that we don't want you to confine to only one person. Of course, for all your practical reasons, he is going to be the affiliate, but we would want you to know and meet more people. And when you leave for your home country, you must make many connections before leaving. Yeah. And this particular 3 weeks, someone very beautifully narrated in the report, someone said this 3 weeks serves for more than 3 decades to make connections. That's going to be last for 3 decades or even beyond. So I think with this component there and with this thought prevailing, I think we can maximize the presentation, how we reflect in the proposal to win over an award from any funding agency. So we have to be very thoughtful in terms of engaging with the partner in the other country, as well as, understanding each other's strength. It's a wedlock. I would say it's a wedlock, whether it is for 3 weeks or 3 days, it's a research wedlock wherein you are getting into. So understanding the partner is very, very important to make the marriage successful. So thank you, Dr.
My pleasure.
For the presentation. I would now request Dr. Mishra to start his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me. And I would like to begin by thanking the Indo-Shastri Foundation for having supported my collaborative research for many years now, because it offers me a chance to briefly revisit how I got connected to Indo-Shastri. And I must say that my association with Canada, or anybody from Canada, began with Professor Ramesh from Halifax, from Dalhousie University, way back in 2006. 2009 or 10, and I was beginning as an assistant professor in an area unlike chemistry or physics that nobody had any idea about in India, cognitive science. So there is a big difference here, because I would take that perspective. When you're working in a narrow area, which is how do you forge contacts? It's not always easy, because how do you know who might be interested in the kind of work, unlike in other major fields where things are more well. So Professor Klein and I have been collaborating ever since in many interesting projects. His area of interest has been attention, and mine has been a mixture of psycholinguistics, cognitive science, attention, etc. I would say that he probably influenced me towards more attention how I can recognize. Nevertheless, so many of the points that I would like to highlight, Professor DeRosa already has pointed out, but I would like to elaborate or put something here and there from my own perspective. And I come from a major research university of India, which has been, I'm happy to say, our University of Hyderabad is one of the institute of eminence now, which actually allows us to broaden more internationally and etc. So I would like to see many other funding agencies and our academics from the university going out and doing more. Nonetheless, so focusing on the Indo-Shastri, I think I have been awarded the Shastri on 2 different occasions, because the first time I had gone there to do collaborative piece of research was somewhere around 2009, and that was kind of a mobility grant. And then later, when we produced some research, we published, and we put that for a Indo-Shastri research grant. That was about 2 years ago. So, and this particular grant that came my way was of a mobility type, and I was scheduled to actually take advantage of the research that we have been doing all along and publishing. But also, I was supposed to teach an undergraduate class at Dalhousie, which unfortunately did not happen. And I am also thankful to Professor Aaron Newman, the head of the Department of Neurosciences at Dalhousie. So this could not happen, and there was no other way to do it in any other way. So I was scheduled actually to go there last month, and all these nice things would have happened. So the particular grant of this year had both a research component and a mobility component. And she already pointed out that this particular grant, I must say, though it is structured like any other grant, you have to put in stuff that they want you, but you can elaborate, like you would like to visit other people in the neighborhood, and that they want, because that is allowing you to foster really and build more connections. So the Indo-Shastri Foundation basically has many categories of grants, and I'm quite sure those who are in the assistant professor, associate professors, or full professors, they look at things for other, the kind of grant that helps them join research projects, like she was elaborating, and students as well, because many of my graduate students are listening to me, I believe now, and they would like to take advantage and go as well. So some of them were trying to apply. So the advice is the same. So let me begin with a couple of things. First is, before you apply, you must ask yourself, why should you apply to this particular agency? Because this is the most important thing. Because your vision of getting something must align with the foundation's vision. I think it's similar for all the grants. And I must say that I have been very fortunate in getting a couple of grants this year, but unfortunately none of this can be executed. And I got about 4 or 5 grants of this type: Duo India grant, Erasmus grant, and so many, and this grant. And unfortunately, 2020 none of this would be happening. And I don't know whether they would be extending to 2021. These are interesting questions. So nevertheless, so you must ask yourself, and your collaborator both, that why should you be applying? Why should they fund? Whether it is $2,000 or $10,000 is irrelevant, but your aim must align with the foundation's overall broad aim. They are going to be flexible, but if it is not aligned at all, I think the people who are sitting on the other end, they have a tight rope. I mean, they can just say that, okay, it's all fine, but it's not for us. So, and that can happen. So you'll be very clear. And one point can be helpful, which is already elaborated. The Indo-Shastri Canadian Foundation is all about fostering continuous engagement, and for a long term. And this is what is very important to keep in mind. It's not a one-shot visit and etc. Like in my case, I'm telling you, I have been publishing and visiting. Professor Ramesh Klein was a Gyan professor. I invited him. He spent a month last October in India. So they're all indications that we have done more in fulfilling the requirements broadly, and it has been very helpful for both groups, the migrant students, the university, other colleagues in the university, and I have met several other interesting faculty in both Halifax and nearby in Moncton, in Montreal. I have other colleagues who are as well there, so I have lectured there, taking advantage of the funds from Indo-Shastri, and I have put all that in the final report, so that way. So you must ask yourself, why should you be applying, whether it's the right kind of grant and the category of the grant, because sometimes it can be confusing whether you go for a research grant or for a mobility grant or what kind of grant. I think it's best arrived with consultation with your collaborator, and you must already have something in your mind because you have been collaborating. You know what is suitable for a particular year, whether a research grant or you visiting or somebody coming to India. So I think you should know the alignment, and it is a general thing for any. It's like say writing a book proposal for a particular publisher. You must know what kind of books they would like to publish, or for any other grant agency. So the number 2 point that I think that has helped me is also the toning down the research interests of both the parties involved. It must not appear to people that very two different people are trying to come together for some unnatural reason, because it's very easy to find that out. You may be great in your own field, but it's very easy for me to find out that, okay, this is just something, but it's not taking them anywhere in the long term, because today anybody can have a glance at the web pages and can just know that there is no big mutual overlap, or the overlap is not going to be sustainable in the long term, because different countries' policies, the priority areas, they differ. For example, this particular grant we applied was under the category, we presented cross-cultural research, and we managed to do a replication of our own previous publication, and that perfectly was in harmony with the overall aims. And we could justify very nicely, citing our past publications and why we want to do it further, stretch it further. So you must harmonize, because there are some areas where you have corrected. There are new areas where you would like to connect. I think that part should come in. Whether it's a paragraph or two, I think you must spend a lot of time in talking to find that harmony. And I'm quite sure those who are looking at your proposal will be very happy. They instantly can find out that these people are having some long-term goals. So that gives them some nice leverage too. So you must harmonize between yourselves when you put down the points, when you write, whether it's a mobility grant. Because even if it is a mobility grant, and you just don't say that I'm going to speak in some conferences, that's fine. But if you are saying that I'm going to visit some people, why should you be visiting them? There has to be a clear justification component. I think you must spend time in asking them, can I do something more? Like, can I have a seminar with the graduate students? So those points clearly indicate that you have really gone into the details of, and there is a good amount of mutual compatibility. Are you going to meet other people, and why so? This gives a lot of clarity in your proposal. The third point obviously comes to finding the right kind of topic, because I remember when we used to write, not just with Professor Klein on Indo-Shastri, but with my other colleagues in different countries with whom I have got joint grants, we always deliberate on the topic of the moment, because it's something could be we are interested in the long term, and all of us have, and something that we think would click this time. So that has to be talked out, and I think funding agencies are innovative, because they are moving with time, and I'm quite sure with the coronavirus impact globally, the research visions of funding agencies are bound to change, because Government of India already is indicating through other funding agencies, and I've just recently applied one to ICSSR, that clearly into more applied angle, and because such a crisis had never occurred, and we people just can't remain silent, not responding in our own ways, whether I do cognitive science or psychology or neuroscience. Something will certainly change. I'm expecting that change happening pretty soon. So you must be alert both towards the new priority areas or where you fit in. Suppose a title like health is coming, and I don't do anything health. I'm not a medical professional, but I do something that is somehow relevant. So I have to put in that part. So sometimes people confuse that, okay, I don't do health, I don't do AI, I mean, I do this, but it's up to your creativity and your partners or other people. You take advice, you talk out, and then okay, at least you have attempted to be innovative on top of what you already have been doing for a number of years. Because your CV and your publications clearly indicate that you have been interested in area A or B, but have you been innovative? Because I would say that we were innovative in crafting the last proposal, and we're very happy about it. And I'm very thankful again that we got it, but we'll see whether mutual visits are possible or anything could be possible in the future. So you must be innovative. You just can't be, static, and that requires a lot of looking around and talking. And now what is happening with India? Classifying its universities and making clear structures and expectations of its academics. Where should they publish? What should they publish? What would be valued? I think the funding agencies, whenever somebody applies, that will become important for their rating as well. That okay, you got a grant, but from where? So now my university, for example, has very clear vision with regard to what their academics must aspire to than what we are doing 10 years ago, because that's not the mandate anymore. So this puts me, when I talk to my colleagues abroad, so we are talking at a different wavelength now, that we will be selective because it doesn't really, So Indo-Shastri is better positioned, and other foundations like the Paul Soil Foundation, other foundations, to fulfill that aspiration of young faculty and more matured faculty in giving them. So I think you must look at your own stage, career stage, and how you are helped in applying for a particular grant, and that must be related to the topic, because you can't do much with regard to certain things, but you can be innovative with regard to the topic. And coming to the structure of a proposal, I think all the basic principles of writing apply to grant writing. It's nothing different. Although people may think, okay, it's not even there are boxes and I just need to fill in and it's very. But I think there are areas where you need to follow those basic rules. For example, how do you compose what you write? Whether it is 250 words or 500 words, how do you really compose? All the basic rules of writing really apply. Clarity and being systematic and with a intro, a middle, and an ending, and which information you must not bring in, because there is always a tendency for us to really cite a lot of stuff or to bring things that might not be related for that context. So you must know what not to really put in there and make it problematic for evaluators. So you must be very careful in writing those parts. The other, information part is fine. You don't need to labor hard, but when you have to justify or you have to do some of that kind of thing, I think it's very important that you pay attention to your writing, and it has to be simple, crispy, direct, and whatever you plan to do must be well reflected. And this, as Professor DeRosa rightly pointed out, most of these grants and the success of it depends on the fine collaboration that you are having with someone, because it's not an individual attempt, so to say. And therefore you have to plan out and you have to edit. And many times I and other people have spent time, or I have sent and they have edited and I have edited, and it goes on for about a week or 10 days or 15 days. But sometimes we have to meet deadlines, and sometimes we do it fast. But I would say that you take your time. If you are planning to apply several months down, you do your homework, you do that shortlisting, you talk it out, and then you will see that you are in a better position, a confident position to put down stuff more. So time is critical. And sometimes this CV thing confuses people. A short CV and a long CV, many times, I'm not sure whether Indo-Shastri asks for a 3-page or, but let me tell it out, because sometimes, I have a long CV of many people at my stage that they have several publications, but which one to really put there? Whether it is with regard to a temporal time, like what you have done in the last 3 years, because you might not have published, say, for whatever reasons in the last 2-3 years, but you have publications before. So there are always some points that you need to be, because your CV will matter. It will be looked at. How do you put a CV? What are things that you really focus there? Which grants or what scholarly stuff? So I think paying attention to these details enhances your opportunity to be shortlisted, at least, because I think all grant agencies get a lot of applications that they would like to fund, and many of them are good. So it would be nice if I'm not saying that I have always done all of these things that I'm saying, but I have learned, and if I have to write, I have to do something tomorrow or whatever my graduate student, I would say, okay, now these are the points. I'm not saying please don't. I'm not preaching no, but this is ideal. I mean, this is you can be confident after having applied that okay, I have a chance because I have done my best. So, and what are the other points? Indo-Shastri is a foundation whose primary aim is to foster, as I've said, cultural and scientific relationship between two countries, and all the major universities are part of this league. And I think some universities are missing from some these lists, so whether they're a member or not. But it has never been a problem to me. But please check it out whether it is your university is a member yet. Otherwise. And look at the priority areas and look and talk it out. And the other point that I think has mattered to me most is this long-term sustained effort. I think that always helps the agency to fund us because they see that they are at it for a long time, and therefore investing in them is okay. So you develop contacts much before you start writing any grant, at least with foreign collaborators. And how do you develop these contacts? Well, there cannot be a general, it differs for many kinds of people. As an assistant professor or as an associate, because I developed many of my contacts at an assistant professor's level. And at that time, I must say, I was not really applying to many grants. They all came because of the investment I did at that point in time, traveling on other grants, or sometimes they funded me from their project. I'm very thankful to many of them, master institutions. I can just go on naming. So later on, when I started really applying for focused agencies, all that long relationship which I had built with those people, and also the reference letters that I could get easily from other people, both from India and abroad, they came handy because I didn't have to make extra effort. You can't make that effort. It's not possible that you ask someone to write a reference letter, even if your dean or your next professor in next department, they would, I mean, how they would know you or write something about you. So I think my advice to young faculty, particularly not the established ones, that you independently start developing connections, whether it is in the changed coronavirus online Zoom world or whether it's the world that we knew. That is not going to change, and then the funding agencies are going to respect it. They know that you already have been motivated, and it's nice that we fund you. So you have to develop your connections in whatever way you can through your graduate student by sending them, because many of my students have gone on to other countries, and not that I had direct working relationship with those professors, but now that they have gone and they have come back and we have a relationship. So if we have to write a grant proposal tomorrow, they would be okay because we already have something in common. So you have to develop from your own side. Please take advantage of your institutions' advisory boards. Like many institutions in India, they have what's called a foreign affairs division. Many times they hold. Even I remember that some of you, Dr. Prachi or others, have visited Hyderabad University and you have spoken to faculty and college. I see people from the American funding agency, they're coming over, and British Council. So please go and listen to them. And many of the things that I am saying, you will see that they're pretty general things. So you have to develop connections. Because the funding agency is not trying to, develop your connection instantly with somebody else. No, they're merely trying to see whether you have a relationship and it aligns with whatever they want to fund that year. So you already should be investing in whatever way. When you are going for a conference, like going for many in India these days, traveling money was actually better than when I started out as a graduate student. So I think many students have got money to travel, and I always tell them that those that travel for this conference, look around and meet people, and also tell them that I am willing to come over for a couple of days and have more interactions, so that way you already have something boost your profile later on. So that's one important point, because this kind of grants are easier if you demonstrate as a relationship that is already sustaining itself with publications. Yeah, if you have a long-term relationship, I would emphasize that you must have publications, because that otherwise is a very contradictory thing. Like what you have been doing. I mean, I would be blunt in thinking that, okay, you said that you know one another for 10 years, but what has come out of it? Because ultimately, a grant agency has to also give justification. You have to write a report that you published 5 papers, and therefore we will publish 2 more. And that really is the long-term goal. And many other things might come along, writing books together or doing other things together. Apart from, because there are many ways to reflect your work. It's not necessarily just paper. So I think some of these points are pretty general, and from my point of view, because I have been teaching cognitive science for a number of years, and it's a new subject in India, and it has been growing, and therefore it was not actually easy to find out who is a cognitive scientist, because cognitive science is defined very differently in different countries. In America, you have mind and brain sciences. India, you have cognitive science, and you have neuroscience. So when I was starting out, it was a problem for me to find out the right kind of people aligning, and then when it came to grants, I had to take a decision. Okay, these are the people that I should collaborate with, or I can bring them on board when we write a grant. Now we write multi institutional grants. Like the last grant, the Erasmus capacity building grant that I'm happy to share we have got is with 11 people. So it's the project proposal is about 180 pages. So the writing of it went about 2 months. So we knew who should be on board. When you mature from one single point grant to bigger grants, you take your experience. So there are some of the things, and I think that I have already spoken more than my time. And if any questions or any other things, I would have to clarify. So thank you very much again for bringing me. And I am, as we don't have active teaching, but we are teaching online, and we are expecting the university to open in some time, but not sure as of today. And I hope that we go back to active teaching and other stuff soon. And so far it has been okay, and I have been, I would say productive in because I had to adjust to this online world of teaching and interacting and doing writing and reading pretty much in isolation. So I think that many of you are also having that kind of life. So all the best, and we'll look forward to a more brighter world as it unfolds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra, for explaining this in detail, that how you have started and how you have grown in terms of your experience in building up proposals and submitting to funding agencies, or coming together with the partners is very important, as you have explained, and leveraging on your connections is very, very important, as I could understand from your presentation or your conversation that you have let down to us. A couple of things I would also like to add here to what Maria and Dr. Mishra has said. We need to understand, as a funding agency's perspective, the first and foremost reason what we want to understand from any scholar, any applicant, is why Canada, why India, and why if you have an answer for why, then why you need to be geographically present in that location for your research. What is there that cannot be done virtually, for which you need to travel to, because it's a mobility grant, so why you need to travel to the other country. The second important point is timeline. So before you set your proposal to Shastri or to any other agency, the timeline should be set. If you are here, if you're going to be visiting for 3 weeks, you should be knowing what are you going to do in the first week, and then the second week and the third week. Only then you will be productive enough. So, and also it's more impressive when evaluators, the adjudicators see your proposal and they see the preparedness. So for that, you need to go back and forth with your affiliate, with your partner, and come up with a timeline which is reasonable for the adjudicators to understand that yes, the proposal seems very, very rational, and the timeline is placed very well. So I think there's a lot more seriousness involved in presenting it. That is one thing. The other thing that I think is very, very important that Dr. Mishra has raised is interdisciplinarity, which is, I think, is the current buzz, and also is of much use to research fraternity. Because if you are going only with one discipline, probably you'll not get the best out of it. Of course, there are couple of areas wherein you have to go very, very specific in terms of, the discipline that you are undertaking. But you have to bring in other components to make it more interesting for the other world. People like me who cannot understand each and everything have to understand this in layman's language. So it is very important to engage other disciplines as well. And this can be done wonderfully. I've seen the proposals, and wherein we see that it's a well-led proposal wherein though it's being theoretical proposal, there's applied science, applied side to it, and there's a applied side that relates to other domain of knowledge as well. So this is the third important point that I would like to share. Focus on the work that you would like to present, but what is the focus that your partner would like to present is also important. So while you are, as Dr. Mishra said, that CV is very important, but it should be connecting well with the proposal that you are submitting to us. We don't want to have 10-pager of yours. We don't want to know what you did in your undergrad. We don't want to know what you have done 20 years back. What we want to know, what are your current research interests and how these are related to. Same goes for the publications as well. I wouldn't say that you attach or you mention all 100 research articles that you wrote in all peer-reviewed journals or so. But what we would want to see is that 10 or 20 most closed articles that you have wrote or research paper that you have published to what proposal you are submitting to the Shastri Institute. Peer review is very important. Now, if you're done with your proposal, send it to your peers to review it. Sometimes it's a best exercise, best evaluation that you can get it done. Send it to your friends, send it to your colleagues and get their ideas on. Sometimes a basic fact that we are missing because we are blind while reading it again and again, and somebody else from the very different perspective can bring it out to us. Leveraging on other programs of Shastri is also very important. So once you have made the connection, try to explore other possibilities through Shastri. When I'm saying this, you as a faculty can apply for the grant. If you got the grant, try to optimize it by engaging your students. So there are n number of, I'm very pleased to share with you that 70% of the Shastri funding goes to students from undergrad to postdoctoral candidates. So try to engage your students with these Shastri programs that can help you to build up the student mobility on your research as well. So if Dr. Mishra has a scholar to work on cognitive sciences who can be a good student to the affiliate with whom he has served, I think it's the best match to work on, and he can encourage his or his students to apply for these grants so that this can be a comprehensive arrangement. And similarly, if there can be a student from Canadian lab who's keen to come down to IIT Madras, Maria, you can explore that opportunity, encourage your students to apply for these grants so that the work can continue, but on different forums, but by the support of Shastri Institute. Other important aspect I would like to mention here is membership to the institute. If your institution is not a member, first of all, it's a rigorous process to get into the member council of Shastri Institute. As you know, it's a binational organization, and we only facilitate collaboration amongst the member institutions in India and Canada. So if your institution is not a member council, part of our member council, please ask your administrative heads, vice chancellors or directors to connect with my office, and we will guide them how to get into the member council. Last but not the least, I would say that it's a, it's a institution that provides you platform to collaborate, and it's just India and Canada that we are talking about. So if you are going to present a scenario wherein you want to visit Brazil for a research, that's not going to be successful because that's not meeting the eligibility criteria. So keep that in mind. It's a binational mandate that we carry with us in our programming. So you have to bring in collaboration within these two countries so that we can facilitate. Thank you so much. Wonderful presentations from both of you. Every presentation has value. I think we are good to go for question answers. We have time still in hand, and I would request my officials to bring up the questions to the speakers and to me if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul, for this. Hello, everyone. I'm Meenakshi. So if there are any more questions, I would request to place the questions in the Q&A only, not into the chat. That would, that would be more convenient for us to read out. Yeah. Now I would read out the questions. The first is, if area of interest is not matching, what is the chance of getting this mobility plan? How to address why Canada for mobility plan? I think a part of question has already been answered by Dr. Paul. So you may like to take the first part.
Would any one of you, I mean, from the speakers, would like to address this?
I think if say you are approaching someone in Canada and you found someone that's a good match for you, and they ask you why should we do this, or why Canada, why India? So many grants, even Canadian grants, if I'm applying for Canadian money to do some project, they will ask, what is the impact of this work that you're going to do? How will you translate this knowledge, transfer this knowledge in Canada and beyond? So I think if you have a good, compelling reason to work together to convince the Canadian that it's important to work in India, and that it's important for them to come to you, I think what you need to look at is that impact idea. So how will this knowledge be helpful in India, and vice versa? And usually you can find that link. I don't think it's hard to find that link once you start thinking more broadly. Sometimes people are more focused in their discipline, in their country, but then, the impact for all of our work usually should be global. So why is it that we would just be focusing on one small area of the world? So how can your expertise be complementary, and how can you transfer the knowledge? That would be my advice.
Yeah, I hope that was an answer.
Yeah.
Next
Sure.
is, what is the total grant available under this category, and when will the call open? This is for Reshma, I think. Yeah.
Reshma, you are on mute. Unmute yourself, please.
So I'm saying, Dr. Paul, you can respond back to the question.
Well, the program is going to open soon, any moment from tomorrow on. But as you know that these are difficult times we all are in, and there's no international borders opening any soon. I mean, I don't see it opening in next 2 months' time. In this situation, I would say that the programs are going to be announced with no mobility component. There are going to be programs, but we are encouraging more and more digital research to be done by the applicants. So removing that mobility part, the program announcement for this year will be on in next couple of days' time. Please visit our Shastri Institute's website for more details. You will find it there. And there would be a governing COVID-19 program policy that you will get to see with this program announcement. So it goes hand in hand. As I said, that more of virtual and digital research we are promoting for this year. If it's a collaborative research and it's a multi-year grant that we are proposing, then it has to be, the mobility part has to be kept for the second year, not for the year now. So I hope this answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Next is, which institute would be the best to collaborate within the area of nanomedicine in Canada?
Maria, would you like to respond to that?
Sure. Honestly, this is something in my area, so I know a little bit. So I'm not exactly nanomedicine, but honestly, you know what? This is something that's exploding around the world and in Canada as well. So you would be able to find someone in almost, any city, maybe not any university, but if you have a city of interest, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver, you will be able to find those experts. What I would say is that is also very broad. Nanomedicine, although it sounds narrow, when you actually start to dig into it, it's quite broad. So what application are you interested in? What skills are you going to bring? What skills do you need? and then focus it even a little bit more, right? So maybe you are bringing in knowledge of nanomaterials and you want the medical and who is interested in using those nanomaterials. That's a different search than you are interested, you have the health expertise and you're looking for someone who can provide the materials or the synthesis. That would be a different search. So focus a bit more, but honestly, all the universities in the major cities have some nano program. So Carleton University has a nanochemistry and a nanoscience program. You would find several experts there. So definitely, I think this is a great area to be working in Canada as well.
Thank you, Dr. DeRosa. Next is, in current COVID situation, mobility may be questionable from the next year. Is there any possibility of doing this kind of collaboration online? Does SICKI have any plan?
I just responded, I guess, to this because programs are going to be announced without the mobility component, and we are encouraging scholars to collaborate digitally and virtually over the, everything is possible. Like we are conducting this webinar and we have seen that we never thought of conducting our Canadian Member Council meeting wherein 40 representatives of the universities of Canada from Canada came together, and we are planning on 20th June, we are going to have 115 plus institutions coming on to join us for Indian Member Council meeting. So we never thought of these aspects of life when we will be meeting digitally only, and it's going to be equally good. The deliberations are quite effective and up to the same standard, and deliverables are almost same. So I think we are good to go with digital this year. Any mobility component will be entertained from next year only. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Next is, I think, for Dr. DeRosa. So you mean to select an area based on not only our expertise and which has a need at the other institute also?
Yes, so I think probably there's more than one formula for success for this grant. But definitely what seemed to work for our team was that our expertise were not exactly the match, right? So it's not that I brought the exact same knowledge and expertise as my partner, more that we had a goal that was in common and our expertise were meshing. So looking at the needs in that institution. So if you have something you can offer and you see, okay, I have a Canadian partner, I see someone in Canada, they have something that I need, some knowledge, but I have this that they're missing, then that's a great match. Right? So not just what you have, but what you can offer, what they're missing, that's always a good, so you're both going to gain from it. That's a great, compelling ask, I think. So that worked for us. But there may be other, like I said, ways to go about it. But I think if you're thinking that way, you will have some success. Yeah.
Thank you. Next is for, I think, Dr. Paul or Reshma can answer. What do reference letters need to highlight about the applicant?
Well, I think our speakers have talked in detail about it, so I need not to answer on that. They have to talk about in relevance to the research that you are proposing and your strength that enables you to carry out that particular agenda. So both the speakers have talked about it, so I'm sure they would be happy with the response.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Is there any specific theme in which we should focus?
Well, Dr. DeRosa has talked about it and explained that Shastri is pretty open in terms of receiving interest and research proposals. But yes, there are a couple of specific highlights that we always present to scholars on our website or any announcement that we do. So these are the priority areas of both the governments, Government of India or Government of Canada, wherein we would like to encourage, because we are partnering with both the governments to take the agenda forward. So we would like more applications to receive in those areas. And if it is not so, don't go discouraged. I think we are still open to receive your application and appreciate it as a subject.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Paul. Next is for Dr. Mishra. that your talk made me understand that it is necessary to change our focus from getting the fund to find out the knowledge gap and project for the funding.
I'm not sure if I understood the
Should I
question.
repeat it? Yeah, I'll just repeat it. Your talk made me understand that it is necessary to change our focus. I think it's not a question, it's a general remark they have given. Yeah, so we should just ignore that. Next is for research and mobility plan funds, institute overhead charges will be considered. Is it so?
Reshma, would you like to respond to this? Unmute yourself, Reshma.
We don't allow to charge overhead from the collaborative grant.
Thank you, Reshma.
Yeah. Go on.
Does women faculty have any special category to apply in?
No. We are very, very open and sensitive to all genders on earth. So we are all open. It's just the quality. Yeah, it's just the quality that matters. We try to strike a good balance. You know, we have seen this over the period of time that when we see application, there's a predominance in humanities and social sciences from female scholars, and there are less applications in STEM area from women. So we try to encourage more women in those areas by, when I say this, there's no differentiation in terms of quality and standards that we do there, but we try to push a bit the applications that are coming from female candidates. So we're trying to strike a good balance, but there's no category particular or the portion kept for women candidates here. So you have to beat the men folk.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Next is, whenever we approach the faculty in Canada, they are positive, but their schedules always tight. If we have a mechanism like research blog, so that we express our brief proposal from both the sides, so that we can first get the like-minded research project, then the faculty and institute.
Maria, would you like to respond a bit to that, and then I can take over from there?
Sure. So, I mean, I think that's a great idea. The other thing that I've seen is that, so I know my university, if somebody contacts my university and they say, you know, I'm interested in applying for this grant and here's my interest, do you have faculty members who work in this area? I've received emails from my research office, and sometimes they're a fit and sometimes they're not. But I think reaching out to the institutions is a great idea, because sometimes, you know, you don't know, this came up somewhere in another question, you may not know who it is that you should be contacting. Sometimes the institutions can facilitate that. So this idea of a blog or somewhere way to project your interest and then see who replies with their interest, I think that's a good idea. And some universities are already proactive with that. You can ask them directly. And if they're not, then maybe you could just, you know, this is an opportunity to start something new.
Thank you. And from there, I can just share with you that Shastri has provided that opportunity. There's a space on Shastri Institute's website wherein you can place in your request and you can start a conversation, strike a conversation, and other person from the other geographical location can look into it and they can respond back. And if it goes further, then you can go on one-to-one to further this research interest or to further collaborate. But we found that it was not much utilized. It was underutilized. Though the space was created, it is still there, but it is not, uses are not optimized. And it's not that I can see that it has anyways optimized, the platform did not optimize, it's a reason for which it was created. So we can think about the suggestion, but actually it has to be one-on-one only that it can happen.
Thank you, Dr. Paul and Dr. DeRosa. Yeah. Next is how artificial intelligence related funded project can be proposed.
Oh, I guess it is for me. So AI is a very broad category. You have to know what is the subfield that you work. For example, embodied AI or machine learning or many others. So you need to know the subdomain and find a couple of people that you might want to like to develop, and also then the narrower topic. But I wanted to actually, the mega question for all the graduate students and assistant professors is how do they go about developing these relationships? I often get asked, how do you know this? And that's the point actually. If you know somebody well, all these things might come easy. But how do you start knowing? I mean, writing an email or meeting them in a conference, and somebody pointed out, nobody has time to really, of course, we would like to be, but really it's not easy to really develop a relationship. So Indo-Shastri is not responsible if you cannot find any. They would give a list of institutions, but on the list of topics, but that's just general. You need to be more forthcoming in putting your own mind and learning from online available resources. I'm quite sure there are a lot of advice available in today's world than it used to be 5 years ago. So you need to really take advantage of, how do you really develop the relationship and then encash it in the form of a grant, or maybe if not Shastri, Canadian, suppose you don't get this competitive, it's a possibility that that particular scholar would find something from, because Canadian universities have more, potential funds to invite Indians than vice versa. Let me be frank here. So that is always a possibility. But the crux of the matter is that relationship must be developed and the topic selected in a very serious long-term way. So I think I would like to add that. And AI is a very big topic. In India, it's just very nascent. It's just universities. I'm not quite sure there are many experts as well. But you need to know AI is taught in computer science and AI is taught in cognitive science. There is a big difference. So if you are cross-connection, and I would find that out very soon, that you are coming from a discipline, you have another idea of AI, and maybe health idea is very different for who is the priority focus on this issue. So you need to be clear what's your pitch or your tone to the problem. It just cannot be more general.
Dr. Mishra.
Yeah,
Please.
Professor DeRosa, probably you wanted to leave at 9.
Yes, sorry, I do have to run soon, but this has been really a great experience, and I've had a lot of fun answering questions. And people can also feel free to send me an email if they need any advice. So if you share my email for any of the people on the webinar, they can send me a question or two, no problem. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Maria, for joining us today. And
it was so good to meet everyone.
Yeah, we will be in touch in future for something similar what we did today. Dr. Mishra, thank you so much for spending your time, and let's reconvene at our convenience very soon once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
So next question was, Reshma, for you. Is this an exchange program? So you might like to answer.
Exchange program, which one is asking for the Shastri mobility program?
Yes.
This is exchange based, but not in the sense that if you are going to Canada, your Canadian host will be coming to India. No, it's only you who would be going to Canada. If your partner wants to come to India, he has to apply separately for the program.
Another is for the institute also, that if we have a list of the scholars working on various fields in their respective universities, so that we can contact them and share our common concerns.
Well, we are working on that, and it will take some time to make a comprehensive list. But if anybody wants, they can just email to us. We'll try to help them out with the person who is working.
Yeah, and to add to what Reshma said, I would say that we have our database uploaded on the website. So if you go to Shastri's website, you'll see all the grants and awards that we have granted till date. So if you search for a particular thing, probably you'll find a couple of scholars there who has similar research interest or similar areas of research, and you can identify one of them to further your contacts in India or Canada. Thank you, Meenakshi.
Yeah, thank you. Next is, if a student is applying for a doctoral research grant who is a beginner and has not published yet or is in the process of publishing, will the student be weighted? Will the student be weighed down relative to senior students with more publication?
No. well, this webinar is concerning to faculty mobility program, but I will answer to this question. No, I would say that we do not discourage youngsters who are the beginners in their research and have no research publications. But I would say that any doctoral candidate becomes eligible to apply for the program only after they have completed at least 2 years, which is like you have cleared your comprehensive exam at your respective institution, you have started working on your research proposal. So it is presumed that if you are entering into your research, you have made up your mind, you'll start thinking about publication. If you have not published yet, you probably have communicated your research to somewhere, to some platform. So we do not discourage, but yes, if you have some support document to show towards your communication or so, that would be an added advantage.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Next is, are you planning any computational technology conference in near future?
Well, not in particular around this area, but if there are proposals coming in, we will certainly support it, but not through directly from Shastri Institute, but through our member institutions, which has many technical institutions and engineering institutions on board. We have, as you know, so it might be coming up on their account, but not directly from Shastri Institute.
Next question, I think, has been answered by you, Dr. Paul, that is it necessary to be to collaborate with a Canadian university being a member of the Shastri Institute? So you might like.
Yeah, they need to be, because this is a platform that is bringing in collaboration between member institutions in India and Canada. So any university that you are considering to visit or to invite anybody from that particular university must be a member of Shastri Institute, whether it is India or Canada.
Next is a remark. You can say that as a dean, should I be encouraging young new faculty or senior faculty for mobility projects?
Well, we need more. So established as well as young faculty are encouraged. We take a very conscious decision when we are adjudicating these applications to strike a good balance. While we need established professors' guidance in research, we also need new researchers to come up. So encourage your younger lot, but that doesn't mean that we are not entertaining established faculty. Please, it is open call for both the segments, so we would like to see more applications from both the ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. And the last is that where exactly is the portal for sharing our ideas on the Shastri website so that we can find the like-minded researchers from the other side? Yeah.
Well, there's no portal on Shastri website. There's a platform wherein you can exchange, you can place in your request, or you can keep it open for discussion. Please share your email ID, and Shastri officials will come back to you with a direct link, will guide you how to reach to that particular platform particular page of the website. Thank you.
Yeah. So we are done with the questions for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi, for conducting this. We have back with us Dr. Mishra. To conclude, Dr. Mishra, do you have any comments to make at the end of it?
No, I think it's a very encouraging enterprise what you have been doing, and I'm happy to have been a part of it. And I would say students or other faculty who really want pertinent information, they should join. Timing is fine. You can have it a bit more longer with some more other experts with more diversity. And as far as questions, I think it's because once I got confused because she was reading exactly what somebody has written in the email. So I think I didn't figure out what exactly is. So I think that is a way for the experts to really know the theme of the question than the manner in which somebody has written. It would be helpful for me. And I can say that I am pretty much active on many social media. And I have a very active website at University of Hyderabad. I have a lab website, my own website. And I do also, I have a YouTube channel where I discuss a lot of contemporary themes in cognitive science. And anybody who is interested, they can come in. I have a lab Facebook page and very active group. So it's just not this occasion. If you want to really know on cognitive science, funding, grants, anything where you think I can be of any, please do connect there, and I generally respond back. So it's all possible. So there's no, my email, all my details, you just get it on the website, and feel free to I get many questions on the website itself. Anything it could be questions. I'd say that from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mishra, for being open to access your resources and sources as well. We will share, we all know that everything is available on respective websites of the institution, so he can be contacted through his email or Facebook or YouTube channel. So thank you so much. I'll leave it to Picky to conduct the poll now. Picky, are you there?
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Very briefly, we just have 4 questions in our poll just to gauge how we did today, how much we all benefited from our speakers. So it'll only take 45 seconds for you to answer. So I'm launching the poll. You can see it on your screen right now, and you can take up questions as they come in. The window will be active for just 45 seconds. And in the meantime, please feel free to submit all your generic queries at SICKI-events@SICKI.org.in, and for any program-related queries at SICKI-applications@SICKI.org.in. We are happy to respond to you any time of the day. So this brings us to the end of the poll and also the webinar. I think we can now do the formal closing doctor call. Reshma, Meenakshi, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Dr. Mishra.
Thank you.
To you, Dr. Kaul.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, my own colleagues, attendees, and of course, the speakers. Thanks a lot to everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.